It's time to get your geek on with Dave Vermillion.
Oh, yes. Welcome back, San Antonio. This is another rendition of Get Your Geek On here on Freedom 1160 Talk Radio and Freedom1160.com, powered by the Texas Renaissance Festival. With over 650,000 people attending the event from September 29th through November 25th, get your tickets at texrenfest.com. I am Dave Vermillion, and this is the premier talk radio show for Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, esports, really all things geek that have dominated this little world of ours. You see, geek is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago. Geek is in. Geek is very in. Geek is now the mainstream, and we are here to talk the latest and greatest that is geek right here on Freedom 1160 Talk Radio. This is Season 3, Episode number 14 for those of y'all keeping score at home. And today we've got quite a bit of news to get into. It was amusing. Around Monday, Tuesday or so, when I started putting the notes together, I was lamenting to my producer that there just wasn't a lot going on. I'm like, man, what are we going to talk about? I mean, we'll throw in a top 10 list, or we can sit here and
Porgs.
Yeah, we can talk Porgs for the entire segment, I guess. But then all of a sudden, some news started to break. The Last Jedi. We're going to talk some about The Last Jedi and Blu-ray sales, and why you may not be so excited about the numbers that we're going to talk about. YouTubers, man, I try so hard to steer clear of YouTube, except, of course, for tinyurl.com/GYGO. YouTube. But really, it's for those of you who are complaining that Rotten Tomatoes is like ruining the movie experience because if somebody gets a low rating, then it's like, oh, I'm not going to go. Yeah, have you seen YouTube videos lately? I think they're pretty destructive. We'll talk about that as well. Also, have you been on the roller coaster that Henry Cavill put us on? Cavill? I think it's Cavill. I think it's Cavill.
Cavill?
Either.
Well, good
Either
old
way.
Hank.
Let's do it either way.
Let's call him Hank. So he put the entire internet on a roller coaster for 24 hours. And I may not be exaggerating depending on how big of a fan you are. We'll talk about what he did as well. And the DC Universe app is out. And somebody's got a talk show. It's not us.
Yes, it is.
Well, on the DC Universe app. So we'll talk about that coming up as well. Yeah, no, it's not us.
It's not on the DC app, but yes, we have a talk show.
We do have a talk show. That's true. And for the first time, I kid you not, since the beginning of August, I have no guest. Isn't that weird?
True enough.
We went 6 consecutive weeks with guests. And now we're guest free. It just feels a little weird, but not to worry because next week is Wizard World.
Yes.
And Wizard World, we're going to have interviews. We're going to have videos. We're going to have pictures. We are covering Wizard World in Austin like it ain't no thing. Yes, I know Texas is playing TCU, but trust me. Well, there'll be more fun probably inside than, okay. I'm sorry, Longhorn fans. My bad about that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and introduce my motley crew here. If you look to my left, your right, actually it's now my right, your left across the radio dial here. You will see our youngest contributor here, fresh out of daycare. Very glad that he was able to shake off nap time to join us here. He's Alex, and he is our clickbait.
Oh,
how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty all right. Excited to talk about a lot of the. I mean, I know you were saying it was a slow news week, but I think there's a lot of really interesting, exciting stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Very cool. And even further to my right, your left, as you look across the radio dial, you will see the man spinning the ones and zeros. He is our sound prognosticator, and he is Goose.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
What's shaking, Goose?
Not a whole lot. I'm just trying to keep everything straight with the 500 things I've got going on right now.
Only 500? It is a slow week, isn't it?
It is.
I'll give you a few more things to do after the show.
No, don't. It's because fine. Right now, all three of us are on screen at the exact same time.
So Goose, are you happy with the... Like, was it worth it to upgrade everything, and now you have even more work you got to do?
It kind of is worth it so far, but it is what it is.
If you're wondering what we're talking about here, it's because we also do a Facebook Live broadcast from the studio, the comfy confines of the Freedom 1160 studios, and that can be found on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GYGO radio. 26,000 plus likes on there, by the way. Very happy about how that thing has grown. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead. Before we get into the Star Wars talk, I do want to offer our thoughts, prayers, feelings, warm wishes, anything that we can to those that have been affected by Hurricane Florence out in the Carolina area. Man, this thing was actually projected to be a Cat 5, possibly when it hit, like a weak Cat 5, strong 4, somewhere around there. It weakened to a 2 before it made landfall. But that doesn't mean that, they're out of the danger, out of the woods or anything. A lot of rain, a lot of serious flooding out there. For those of y'all who were in remember last year, Harvey.
Definitely.
Harvey was a big storm, too. It wasn't a Cat 5 or anything, but all that rain, all that flooding. Oh, my God. There were parts of Houston that got 55 inches of rain.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So definitely want to offer all of our thoughts and prayers out to everyone affected by Hurricane Florence. Alrighty, well, enough of the sad stuff. Let's go ahead and let's dive into some Star Wars news here, shall we?
I'm looking forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me the Master.
Alrighty, it's been a little while since we talked some Star Wars news. Also want to talk to y'all about our friends over at the Heroes and Villains of Cosplay. That's right, Havoc here, right here in San Antonio. A lot of people, they want to cosplay, but they have a lot of questions. They don't know where to get materials. And, do I have to look exactly like Scarlett Johansson if I'm going to be Black Widow? Do I have to, go to the gym and work out for 18 hours a day if I want to be Thor? And the people that can help you the most, the people who are going to answer those questions and make you feel right at home, are the people right over at the Heroes and Villains of Cosplay. Alrighty, so the good news. The top 5 best-selling Blu-rays in America, in the United States, hashtag America, in 2018, so far, number 5, Greatest Showman. Goose, that should make you happy.
I love that movie.
Number 4, Coco.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes all the sense.
Number 3, Ragnarok. Got it. Okay. Number 2, Black Panther, of course. And number 1, The Last Jedi. Oh, but wait a minute. I was told that nobody liked The Last Jedi. I was told it was a hated film, that it was just the worst thing ever. Clickbait, you've heard that, right? That's just the worst ever?
Yeah. Some would say behind even some of the prequel movies that people seem to not like.
I heard like Behind the Room and Birdemic.
Nothing's Behind the Room. The Room's kind of on its own island of greatness.
Well, that's true. It is a truly terrific movie, one that everybody should watch at least once.
So do you think that might be for folks who didn't see it multiple times in theaters? They bought it after the fact?
I think that's entirely possible. Anybody who went to see The Last Jedi multiple times is definitely buying the Blu-ray.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
Because they loved it.
But to see it, when you think of Thor Ragnarok, you think everybody loves that movie.
Oh, yeah.
When you think Black Panther, you think everybody loves that movie.
Makes a whole lot of sense.
When you think of The Last Jedi, you're like, not sure.
It could also just be because that's one of those movies, I think, to a lot of people, because there's some movies that come out on DVD and people are like, oh, that's on DVD, that's on Blu-ray, I'll skip it. But The Last Jedi is one of those movies where it's like, it's a Star Wars film.
Yep.
You have to pick it up.
So that's the good news, is that it made number 1. It actually sold more units than Jumanji and Justice League combined.
So just more than Jumanji?
Yeah, so if it sold 3 million units, which is like a hair over 3 million,
yeah.
So it's like 2,999,999 are Jumanji.
Yeah.
I think Goose bought the only copy of Justice League.
I was about to say,
right,
I didn't even buy Justice League.
Shut up.
Oh, Goose, don't be like that, buddy. It's okay. But hold on a second. Now, if you look at DVD sales, it's number 6, behind something called Wonder.
That was the movie about the young man who was born with, he was just born, he looked a little different from others. It's one of those like feel-good movies, someone finding the beauty within themselves. And
I can see why it's number 6 in DVD sales, because if you're going to go Star Wars, you go for the Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, you don't buy the Blu. One of the first Blu-ray movies I ever bought, this is like, I think I bought it at the same time as my first ever Blu-ray player.
Can I guess?
Was Go, yeah, guess away.
Star Trek.
No,
Star Trek.
no.
Oh, dang it.
Nope. It was Coming to America and Trading Places.
Oh, wow. See, I was way off.
And if I had to go back in time, I'd be like, why do I want to buy Trading Places and Coming to America in Blu-ray?
Exactly. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Now, back then, it's Blu-ray. I got to have it. It's Blu-ray. Oh, my God.
Well, because I remember one of the first ones we bought was the Star Trek remake when they rebooted everything.
Yeah.
Because that was around the same time. But that's hilarious. I get surprised.
I'm serious. Trading Places right there in all of its Blu-ray glory.
I get really surprised when people, I get surprised by these numbers that they're still even ranking DVDs.
Yeah. They still are, amazingly enough.
Yeah. I the last time someone pulled out a DVD and said, you want to watch this? I'm like, but what about the Blu-ray?
Yeah, exactly. You mean you've got that in Blu-ray? Well, how about we watch Trading Places in Blu-ray instead?
Okay.
Then you realized it was live action with no special effects, so Blu-ray is just silly.
Exactly. That's why Star Wars is leading the way when it comes to Blu-ray. By the way, when it comes to all time, because they love their numbers, they love that scoreboard, The Force Awakens is number 4 all time in Blu-ray sales. All time. Not The Last Jedi, that's still selling.
Yeah.
All time. Force Awakens number 4. Number 3 is Despicable Me 2.
Jeez.
That surprised me a bit. Number 2, Avatar.
That makes sense. Makes all the sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then number 1, this should be easy. Anybody who has children should know what the number 1 highest selling Blu-ray of all time is. It's Frozen.
Man, I thought you were going to say Evil Dead. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to go Sin City. I thought Sin City was a
Have you ever seen a daycare recently or seen a home with little kids?
I know, it's all Pulp Fiction nowadays.
Dave, you seemed upset that Frozen was the number 1 DVD.
You think I should just let it go?
I think you should just let it go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's okay. Well, never mind. I'm not going to make that joke.
All right. So you're all excited, right? Because The Last Jedi, number 1 Blu-ray sales for the year, right? Oh, my God, this is awesome. Keep in mind, The Last Jedi is 27th all time. And after 17 weeks of being on the market, 17 weeks of Blu-ray sales, it has yet to match The Force Awakens opening week of sales. Opening week. 1 week of Force Awakens does not yet equal 17 weeks of Last Jedi sales. So, yikes. Now, of course, there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off because Force Awakens was so anticipated.
That's true.
It's so up there. But, there's still 400,000 copies away from even matching the opening weekend of Force Awakens.
So obviously they're not going to get there.
They're not. Yeah. In fact, I'm wondering if Thor Ragnarok or Black Panther was released 2 months after Last Jedi. I bet Black Panther could catch The Last Jedi.
I think Black Panther is just one of those movies that, one, it's a great movie. It's one of the best Marvel films.
Yep.
And historically, that's just one of those movies that's going to be on everyone's shelf.
I think so. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why it's going to be... Now, there's 3.5 months left in the year. Definitely. I bet Black Panther could catch it.
I don't see...
Infinity War could catch it.
I think Black Panther would outsell Infinity War. Because wasn't Black Panther doing better than Infinity War, or no?
No. Well, domestically, I think it did.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
But worldwide, it's Infinity War. So before you get all jazzed up about the Last Jedi being this awesome driving force, and see, everybody loves Last Jedi, everybody loves it. Let's keep it in perspective, if I may say so. Speaking of perspective, we got to talk about these YouTubers a little bit, because I was doing some research, and we have our own YouTube channel and that sort of thing. But the YouTubers out there, man, they are getting kind of crazy. What's not crazy, however, as I casually segue into my advertisement here, are the folks over at Dragon's Lair and Alamo Ranch on the west side of San Antonio, off of Highway 151 and 1604. That area is booming out there. It's out there by the Casablanca Theater.
Definitely.
Which, wow, what a theater. But also Dragon's Lair. Holy cow. There are always events going on out there. That's what I like about what they do, is that it's not just about comic sales and graphic novel sales and little plush figure sales. There's so much to do out there at the Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch. So head on out there this weekend. Go take a look, see what they're all about. It's wet out there. It's crazy. It's sloppy. It's yucky. But you know what? Weather's going to clear up. Go check them out. Alrighty. So I was watching this one YouTuber. I was doing some research on various YouTubers and what the opinions are. And this one guy, I was watching him, and he specializes in picking apart movies. Big surprise, right? I mean, that's how Red Letter Media pretty much got their start, their fame and glory, was from picking apart the prequels. They did it in a funny way. That was okay. This guy did it not to be funny. And one of the things he said, and this really struck me, was he said that he was jealous of people who could lose themselves in a movie and not pick it apart. He was jealous of people who could lose themselves. Isn't that the whole point of a movie? Is to allow yourself to turn off your brain for about 2 hours and just lose yourself in the moment.
I can see that, and I think one of the things, especially with like superhero movies, Star Wars movies, anything that have these large fandoms around it, you'll find several YouTubers like that. One, because you can argue they love the property so much that they want it to be perfect, and that's obviously never going to be the case. But additionally, there's some folks who that just might be their OCD acting up. Maybe that's just their mental quirk that they have, where they're going to pick out all of those things.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Now, I can understand doing it, for professional reasons, but surely there has to be a time when you can sit back and lose yourself in the moment. And when I review movies, I like to review them with my brain on because it's a review. But then I will go back and watch the movie and I will turn my brain off and I will allow myself to be lost. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh man, why didn't they just do this? Or don't close that door. You're gonna regret doing that. Or oh, look, she's holding onto her doll. I bet that comes into play later. Yeah. I like to be able to turn my brain off. And it's kind of sad that this guy can no longer do this. Oh, and by the way, his channel, I have no problem saying it, is yourmoviesucks.org.
Oh, wow.
So now I admit I've gotten some laughs out of him, but that one line really struck me. So I started watching some more of these YouTubers, the ones specifically who don't like Star Wars. They don't like the direction that it's gone. And I'm sitting here and they're just picking it apart over and over and over in a truly nitpicky fashion is really the best way to put it. And it's really kind of disappointing that when a movie is released from Disney, these people will go to the movie theater. They'll bring a pad, they'll bring a pen, and they will look not at the movie. They will look for things to pick apart. They will sit there and they'll go, okay, all right. Okay, got our pen, got our paper. Okay, all right, we're going to talk about this later. Oh, I didn't like that. We'll talk about this later. They're not watching the movie. Yeah. They're watching like for prep for their own reviews later. And I'm like, it's getting to be rather disheartening when I watch these people on YouTube now, because that's what they live for. Yeah. How can I pick this apart? How can I get that one zinger in there that will be retweeted 1,000 times or be rewatched 1,000 times? And they're going to do it with Marvel movies. They're going to do it with DC movies, especially going forward. And it's a sad state of affairs. Goose, do you watch any of this YouTube stuff?
There's only one YouTube channel that I watch on a regular basis, and that is, hang on one second,
tinyurl.com/GYGO YouTube.
tinyurl.com/GYGO YouTube is going to be your source for Get Your Geek On YouTube videos, which is basically like cut up parts of the show. So we'll cut up segments and whatnot. But there's going to be more coming down the road as we look into the DC Universe app that opened yesterday. I've been busy, so I haven't had a chance to play with it. But we're going to do more on that at tinyurl.com/GYGO YouTube.
Now, part of the problem is, of course, the revenue. And I know I say it's a problem, when it's a blessing in disguise. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it gives common everyday people who could never get into journalism or radio or television or whatever, it gives them an outlet to go out there and make some money, because there's a lot of software out there you can utilize to really get your message out there and it be entertaining at the same time. And I'm cool with that. That's fine. You want to make money, that's great. But at the same time, that's all they can think about. Is how do we make money off this? What do we do? We've got to go negative. If it bleeds, it leads. Nobody is ever going to make a dime off of YouTube by saying what they like about a movie. Yeah. It's never going to happen. The Nostalgia Critic did not make, I think he made at one point like 6 figures. And
I
from
don't know.
all he did DVD sales and he did Comic-Con appearances. I think he made 6 figures at one point, and he didn't do that by saying what he liked about movies. He didn't. He did it by ripping on movies. The guys at Red Letter Media have, I don't know, however many billions of subscribers because they pick movies apart, but they don't do it critically. I mean, well, to be fair, they do it at sometimes. I'm looking at you, Ghostbusters. But they do it with some humor, and they do it in a fun way. But there are some out there, and man, I just don't know how these people do this. Do you ever watch a movie, clickbait, and just you're in review mode and you're wondering what you can pick apart about it?
No, I have the opposite thing where I go into most movies and I walk out going, that was good. I like that. And then as I sit there and I think about it,
Yeah.
I go. Then I kind of get into the mode where I'm like, well, this didn't make sense, or from the previous movies, this character wouldn't do that. And then, I'm one of those people who I watch a movie, and unless it's really bad, and immediately I go, that was terrible. Like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Whoa.
But that's terrible.
Shots fired.
It's a terrible movie.
What do you mean it's a terrible movie?
It's a terrible movie.
How is it a terrible movie?
It's one of those films, to me, it's on par with Thor, The Dark World, where things happen, but nothing happens. And it's like, it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't matter. I don't care about that story. So that was a movie I walked out of, and I said, oh, that was a...
You walked out of Guardians of the Galaxy? Oh, okay.
No, not
After
literally.
it was over. Okay.
Not literally, but that was a movie I walked out of, and I went, that was pretty good. And then I saw it again, and I went, no, it wasn't good. I didn't like it. God dang it.
That would be Goose that'd be Goose over there cutting off the mic. Okay,
Yep.
no, give me one. We're gonna go completely off the rail here.
Definitely.
My final message: YouTubers, turn your brain off. Enjoy a movie. Stop watching something just to review it. Give me one thing that made that movie terrible.
For some reason, everything that happened on Ego's planet, I didn't feel any of it. It felt so weightless and lifeless, like nothing mattered. And you kind of knew, at least for me, I knew the whole way through, spoilers if you haven't seen Guardians Volume 2, that Ego, Peter's father, was going to be the villain. And the whole time I was just kind of like, this is clearly what's being set up. It's very very in your face. It's very lazily done. I just didn't like it. It was one of those things where James Gunn wrote Scooby-Doo Part 2, the live-action movie. And it reminds me of that because so many things happen in Scooby-Doo, and it's a lot of great things to look at, but there's no story happening
So like
that
the prequels,
I care about.
like the Star Wars prequels.
Exactly, and that's exactly how I felt about Guardians Volume 2.
I actually thought that the villain, while predictable, I thought that it was well acted. I thought it was well written and it was well performed. You could tell that there was, kind of like with Thanos and Gamora, there was that love relationship there, but at the same time, I'm going to get what I want.
I felt like they neutered a lot of the characters because this is very similar to how they did with BVS and Justice League, where in BVS, Batman's he's very hard. He's very I'm taking out the villains at whatever cost. And then in Justice League, he's joking around. He's totally different. Now, in the first Guardians, Drax, huge thing I hate about the second one, Drax is very serious. He does have comedic elements because he's ignorant, not because he's actually a dumb character. And then in the next movie, I felt like they really went ahead and went no, he's just dumb. He's going to make jokes every other line that he has.
That kind of reminds me of what they did to Gimli, the dwarf in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, in the first one, he's very honorable, he's tough, he's loyal, he's got the axe, he has no problem taking the axe to the ring. In the second movie, he gets into a drinking contest with the elf, and he's making some jokes and puns. And then by the third one, I don't even recognize him anymore. He's completely different.
Yeah, it's another good one is Storm in the first X-Men movie.
Yeah.
Where she had this accent. She was totally different. And then by the third movie, you're like, where's her accent? Why does she act different? And why does her whole tone and cadence completely opposite?
I thought Guardians 2 was a terrific movie. It wasn't as good as the first one. The first one was the better movie. Mm-hmm. But I liked Kurt Russell. I liked the relationship that he had. I like how everybody got a little something. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Tales of Ba Sing Se in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Everybody got a little something in that episode, and same thing here. Gamora gets a little time with Nebula, and that plot point is resolved. Drax gets a little plot point with Mantis, and then you've got Ego, and you've got Star-Lord, and you've got Rocket, and you've got Groot, and you've got the pirate, the scavengers, and so on.
And the cool thing about this conversation is, to kind of tie it back into the YouTube thing, is that's how movie conversation should be. I didn't enjoy it, but you really enjoyed it. And we can have that conversation instead of just bagging on the movie.
Yes, and because you disagree with my opinion, I must kill you.
Exactly.
That's how social media works now,
Goose,
right?
can you get the spears ready?
Yes.
He's getting them ready.
Exactly. We'll break a pool cue over our knee and say, make it fast. That's exactly. All right. So coming up after the bottom half of the hour news here, we've got some DC news. What did Henry Cavill do to us? We're about to find that out. Coming up here right after the bottom of the hour news break on Freedom 1160 and freedom1160.com. All right. Welcome back from the bottom of the hour news break. This is Get Your Geek On Freedom 1160 Talk Radio, powered by the Texas Renaissance Festival. With over 650,000 people attending the event from September 29th through November 25th, get your tickets at texrenfest.com. I am Dave Gramillion, and if you missed the first half of our show, no problem. Here's what we kind of talked about, kind of glossed over a few things. There's some Star Wars news regarding The Last Jedi and how awesome it was that it got #1 all-time Blu-ray sales for the year. And we said, hold your horses, not so fast. We also talked about YouTubers in general and just the direction that they're going, where they cannot, like one literally admitted, he can't turn his brain off. He's always in review mode when he watches movies. How do you live like that? How is it even possible? You can't just enjoy a movie. But you can get caught up on all of that over on our award-winning podcast. Thank you very much. Voted the best podcast in all of San Antonio. 7th largest city in the United States. We're the best podcast. You can hear that on Spotify, Google Play, Omni, Stitcher, and iTunes. So you can check all of that out. Alrighty, so let's go ahead, and this has been a very interesting week for DC Talk. So let's go ahead and get into that there, shall we? But before we get into that, let's talk about our sponsor here, Tex Renfest, the Texas Renaissance Festival, the largest in all of North America, and it's just to the northwest of Houston. 200 acres of campgrounds. They've got all kinds of passes available, and kids get in for free on Sunday, provided they're ages 13 and under. Now, we're going to be heading out there ourselves in October. And guys, this thing starts in just a couple of weeks. It's September 29th, so that's about 3 weeks away, give or take, plus or minus. And the first themed weekend is Oktoberfest. Oh my God. Can you imagine a Renaissance festival the size that they're going to have an Oktoberfest put together? That ought to be a lot of fun.
They have a lot of really great alcohol out there too.
They do. They do. And it's a family event, so don't worry about that. Jousting events, they have all sorts of things on display. The merchandise is incredible.
Oh, they have such cool. Even if you're like a geek, which you probably are if you're watching this, there's a lot of really great like that medieval themed, but like Superman stuff, Batman stuff.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a lot of really epic stuff out there.
And that's what I love. I'm so jazzed to get out there because the variety of anything and everything you could possibly want will be out there in a family-friendly atmosphere.
Definitely.
But you got to get your tickets at texrenfest.com, texrenfest.com. All right, so the DC Universe app is officially in beta. Slated to come out in October?
Nope, it came out yesterday. Came out Saturday, which Batman Day became DC Universe Day.
No kidding.
I have not had a chance to play with it yet, but when I do get a chance to play,
Wait, so the full app is out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Full out came out yesterday.
The actual app
Yeah,
was
the
out
app
yesterday?
came out on Batman Day, which was yesterday.
Yes.
Saturday, the 15th. So I'm going to play around with that. And when I do, you can see that review and everything else pertaining to that on our YouTube channel. That's tinyurl.com/Geigo YouTube.
Now, part of the criticism that I'm hearing about the app, and Goose, again, you'll get into that later, is that the content seems pretty Batman heavy. And I'll get into that here in a second, but they are going to bring out some additional content, some more series, original series that you'll only find on the DC Universe app. That being said, one of those original series is going to be a talk show. Now, this is interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of an app having a talk show before. I know YouTube does the talk shows.
Have you not heard of Netflix?
Well, yeah, but this is a true app. I mean, Netflix was born out of movies.
Right,
Yeah.
but they've had talk shows, Chelsea, and then that Michelle Wolf show that got canceled.
Yeah, that's true.
How much information has come out about this this new talk show?
Well, as a matter of fact, not too much, but we do know that the host will be none other than the legendary minus 50 pounds now, Kevin Smith.
Oh.
So that's good because Kevin Smith, he used to run the Comic Book Men show.
Yes, Comic Book Men.
Comic Book Men, yeah.
Men. So he's got some talk show experience under his belt.
Definitely.
So he's going to be, that ought to be a lot of fun.
So do you think it's going to be something similar to like a Talking Dead, where he'll be talking about the new things or maybe reviewing or having discussions about some of those things coming to the streaming service?
I think it's going to be like a cross between a like the Talking Dead and a Comic Book Man, where maybe he'll
I can see
review
that.
some products, he'll review some merchandise, especially when movies start to come out. I'm sure he'll do some Aquaman stuff. I mean, that's bound to happen. So that'll be a lot of fun. I mean, Kevin Smith knocks it out of the park every time. That guy is really, really good at what he does. And since his heart attack he suffered earlier this year, down 50 pounds.
Oh yeah, and I've just from everything I've read from him and heard of other people who work with him, he's always been a very happy-go-lucky guy, but he's got a new perspective on a lot of stuff, and
yeah, absolutely.
he's really making sure these projects are really good that he's in now.
All right, so the DC Universe app, we will have a review on it. Goose will be cutting that review on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out in a week or so, maybe after we compile
Somewhere
everything.
along that time frame, yes.
Sounds good. All righty, so let's talk about the other side of the Batman coin. Here is Superman, and wow, did we get taken for a ride from like Wednesday to Thursday-ish?
So I have a question. Did Henry Cavill send out a tweet to Entertainment Weekly or something?
No. All right, so here's what happened. Let's take you down the roller coaster here. So Henry Cavill plays Superman. Okay, that's the thing. It happened since 2013 when Man of Steel came out, then Batman, Superman, and Justice League. He is the face, no question. So the Hollywood Reporter comes out with this story, claiming that they have studio sources saying that talks have broken down between Henry and Warner Brothers, and Henry is done. Henry walked away from the table. He will no longer be Superman. And the internet went crazy. Allegedly, the talks broke down. They wanted Superman to make a cameo appearance in Shazam, in the upcoming Shazam movie, and Henry wanted more money, and they said, but it's a cameo, but he said, I'm Superman, so, fork over the money. They said, yeah, we're still dealing with the mustache fiasco. It was nuts. So, allegedly, according to studio sources, the Hollywood Reporter ran with this story as an exclusive. Fast forward a little bit to everybody going completely crazy about that news. Then his manager comes out, and his manager sends out a tweet. And we reached out. We reached out to his manager and his publicist, and both said, oh, we'll totally put you on the press release list, but no, they weren't going to comment to us directly because no doubt 85,000 news outlets were reaching out to them at the same time. And his manager sent out the tweet, and the tweet said basically that the cape is still in the closet and to wait for a statement from Warner Brothers. Okay, that's not exactly a denial. Not exactly. It is. The cape's still in the closet, but he could also turn that cape in at any time. He could pack it up at any time. So what does that mean, the cape is still in the closet? We don't really know. So the official Warner Brothers statement comes out a few hours later, and by this time, social media is in full frenzy mode. Because now nobody knows what to believe. And the statement from Warner Brothers is so vague and ambiguous that it's not even funny.
Quote, while no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films, we've always had a great respect for and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like Pop saying to Kawhi, we have great respect for Kawhi, and we respect all his decisions. See ya, have fun in Toronto. That's saying that you've always had great respect for and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged. That sounds to me like a send-off. Like, we wish him all the best. We respect the heck out of you, man. Have a good time.
I think DC is just not in a position to have any controversy, so they had to pad this out as quickly and as elegantly as possible.
Maybe, but again, it's not a denial. nor is it a confirmation.
Definitely.
So everybody is now going bonkers. They don't know what to believe. People are saying, well, the manager said this. Well, Warner Brothers said this, and Henry said this. So now Henry himself gets involved. On his Instagram, I mean, this just gets better. It is a true circus at this point. Henry shows a short video of himself, and he's wearing a T-shirt that says Krypton Lifting Team, which I don't know what that means.
I think it's just a cute little nod
I
at
guess.
Superman.
I mean, Titanic swim team T-shirts, those were funny. Okay, that had a point. Krypton Lifting Team. I don't. It's a team of 1. I mean 2 if you count Supergirl, but whatever. So he's wearing the shirt, and he raises a Superman action figure, and then lowers it. And that was the video. I'm like, what? What?
I love
what?
how he seems like the type of person that went, oh, instead of addressing this, I'm gonna make it worse.
Yeah,
because he didn't do anything.
So people started saying, "Oh, see, this proves right here that he's going to be Superman," and people are like, "Wait, that proves nothing."
Yeah.
What did we
it
just see?
It could be that he was showing that he was Superman and now it's going away or something.
Exactly.
It could mean anything.
Yeah, maybe that's the rise and fall of him as Superman. We don't know. But we have a theory. And this is one that I think was in the back of a lot of people's minds, including my own, and then TMZ came out with this, that it's all one big prank by Henry's team. You know, whether it's a manager, publicist, agent, buddies, whoever, one of them called the Hollywood Reporter. Now, this is a theory, okay? Let's get that out there. Called the Hollywood Reporter and said, "Hey, man, you can say studio sources, but you'll never guess what I just heard Henry say." And then they ran with it. So the Hollywood Reporter took it and ran with it.
Here's what I think.
Oh, I'm excited.
So last week, Brie Larson says, "I want to break the internet." This week, Henry Cavill says, "Hold my beer."
That has to be it. He probably came closer to breaking the internet than Brie Larson ever has. Ever. In the history of ever. So the theory is that the talks did break down. Henry wants more money. Warner Brothers says no. And he got all upset with them about the whole Shazam cameo. So he leaks this to his people. His people leak it to the Hollywood Reporter and say that Henry's thinking about walking. They run with it so that now Henry and his team can go back to Warner Brothers and say, look at this backlash. Look at all this backlash. You can't get rid of me. You can't. You have to give me the money now. You know, I don't know how much money we're talking about here for cameo, but you can't not give it to me because look at the fans.
Yeah. I think more than anything, this reminds me of what happened with Ben Affleck, where no one ever came out and said he wasn't going to be Batman or he was thinking about getting out of Batman. There were some people that are like, there was conjecture because no one officially came out and said it, and everybody ran with it. And I feel like this is a similar situation. And maybe you're right. Maybe it was done for a PR stunt or for negotiation.
Here's my question, though. If Warner Brothers, why didn't they just deny it? Why didn't they come out and say, I don't know what they're talking about. There are no studio sources. Henry's our Superman, and there are no plans to change that at all.
Because let's say your theory is right about Henry's people going like, oh, well, look, you have to pay him this because he's the definitive Superman right now. That was Warner Bros. Way of saying, hey, we have a relationship with Henry Cavill, and they're being ambiguous, I think maybe, possibly as a way to say back, like, but you're replaceable, or we don't have to have you.
It's also possible that they just didn't want to rock the boat.
That's true as well.
Because if they did come out in a rather abrasive way and say, oh, I don't know what Henry's talking about. We're tight. We're good. We go golfing together. It's fantastic. Then all of a sudden he's made to look like a fool. He might fire back with something else. Mm-hmm. They've diffused this kind of sort of by not denying it. But yeah, that's the leading theory. And it's one that was the whole time it's in the back of my mind that this wasn't real.
Yeah.
Now, the Hollywood Reporter is reasonably reliable, okay? So keep that. When we publish it on our Facebook page, I wouldn't have published it if it came out of comicbookmovie.com. I mean,
as you shouldn't.
This was a legit thing. This would be the same thing as if Variety or Vanity Fair published
Definitely.
this.
They're usually very, they don't report anything unless it has weight to it.
And of course, it didn't take long either before people started talking about who's going to replace him as Superman.
Which is so ridiculous.
I mean, it was like maybe an hour, literally an hour or two before you started to see memes and pictures and photoshopped images of Michael B. Jordan, of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, no, to both of those.
Well,
both of those, no.
Nicolas Cage, what?
His
No.
his weakness would be the bees.
I wanted to see the movie that they didn't end up making with him.
I had no desire to see Nick Cage as
I want to see
Superman.
it so bad.
So
say later.
the theory makes sense that Henry put Warner Brothers up to this. It's a frame job to get more money out of Warner Brothers.
I can see that.
I don't know what he was paid for Justice League or Man of Steel or whatever, but he's probably not making Ben Affleck money. And he might have seen what Ben Affleck made for Justice League.
Yeah.
And he might have said, "Dude, I'm Superman. I think it's high time I got paid like Superman."
Definitely, because now, especially now, I think since Justice League and BVS have come out, he's so much more of a powerhouse actor, where he has a little more, maybe not like an RDJ, but he definitely has a little more pull to ask for those things.
I know they wanted Ben Affleck to be the face of DC going forward.
Where is he at right now?
He's completely unknown right now. We don't know.
Isn't he in a rehab facility right now, or that was like the rumor that he?
I think that was the rumor. I don't think it
Okay.
was actually confirmed, but I think Henry is wanting to step up.
Definitely.
And now he was in was that Expendables? He was
Mission
in
Impossible.
Mission
Rogue
Impossible
Nation.
5.
No,
and
6.
6. Sorry, yeah. Mission Impossible 6.
Mission Impossible Fallout.
Fallout. Why
And
did I
now
say
he's going to
Rogue
be
Nation?
in the Witcher series.
Yes.
So he's taking on that role. He's starting to kind of branch out a little bit, and he's starting to command some big bucks.
Yeah.
Because he knows you can't be typecast, and he also knows, body gets older. You can't do these stunt scenes forever.
That's true.
Unless you're Tom Cruise, for some strange reason. He can-
Tom Cruise can't even do him. He gets hurt.
Yeah, well, Tom Cruise, though, he still does his own
Finishes.
stunts.
Yeah, I get you.
That's craziness. So, and even I admit, we have a graphics guy that I borrow his talent from time to time. And I started to put together some names. And I'm like, man, we need to start coming up with replacements. Because I thought the Hollywood Reporter would be reasonably, reliable on this. Now we don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
All we have is the theory that Henry was trying to get more money out of Warner Brothers by showing them what the backlash would be if they cut him.
I think the tragedy out of this whole story is that we might not get a Superman cameo in Shazam, because I really want a Superman cameo in Shazam.
I think the real tragedy, well, that'd be fun to see.
Definitely.
But I think the real tragedy now is that for the upcoming weeks and months, DC fans are going to go back and forth on, well, his manager said this. Well, Warner Brothers said that. Well, I heard this, and I heard that. And now these little sub-rumors are going to start to spawn. And YouTubers, we talked about in the first half, are going to break this apart, break it down, start their own rumors. It's only a matter of time, and nobody will know what to believe.
I think at this point, again, it's going to be, this is just like the Ben Affleck rumors. It's just like the Marvel rumors, like the Star Wars rumors that are constantly getting put around. It's something where no one's going to listen to it, but the best thing is to sit back and enjoy the content they're releasing and see what happens. But people are going to freak out about it for the next month.
Speaking of Star Wars rumors, so we have a friend of ours, an alumni of the show that's on set, episode 9. They're going to let him out for the weekend to go to the Exeter Comic-Con in England, but he's on set. I asked him, I said, if Disney Lucasfilm ever wants to leak things, you got a friend in radio, right? You can always leak things to me. And you know what his response was? You know what he told me? This was so cool. He said, "Are you kidding? I'd be fired." I can only imagine. You imagine what the non-disclosure agreement that they have to sign looks like?
It's probably like, you owe us this many $1 million, and we take your third child and your pinky.
It's like 18 pages long. I've heard so many stories. This is when he comes to Alamo City in October. It's Mike Quinn, by the way. I mean, just in case anyone from Disney or Lucasfilm's watching, he's fine. So he's coming in October. I'm going to ask him about all these security measures. I gotta know, because you hear so many things like, the paper that they use. If anyone tries to Xerox it, they get black paper.
Oh wow!
It's like something with the paper makes it anti-Xeroxable or something. Goose, you making it through there, buddy? You okay?
He didn't realize he was on.
Should we go back to DC?
I was like, what?
Does that help you a little bit? Just a little bit there?
Well, Star Wars stuff bores me, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To be fair, we mentioned Star Wars for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. It was all about 30 seconds there. So.
We can talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and how good it is if you like.
Okay.
Yeah. Notice
No.
how I'm saying how good it is.
No.
That's right.
All right, so that gets you caught up on the Superman drama, the roller coaster that everybody was on for a couple of days there earlier this week. This also marks, you were talking about Batman Day there, Goose. This marks
Yes.
the 25th anniversary of the Knightfall comic coming out where Batman has his back broken by Bane, which is also kind of funny because I think it was the same year that Superman died.
No.
It was the year after?
Yeah, so here's
was
the
92.
lowdown. So in November 1992, Superman 75 comes out, right? It was in July of 1993 that Batman 497 comes out. And in Batman 497, Bane, and this is like chapter 9 in Knightfall at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bane meets Bruce at the manor. They fight down in the cave. Bane holds Batman up over his head and then comes down and breaks him in two. The 90s was not a good time for superhero fans because you got the death of Superman. While we were coming from that, during the reign of the Supermen is when Knightfall happened. Knightfall was part 1 of a basically 4-part arc: Knightfall, Night Quest, Night's End, and Prodigal, which saw Dick Grayson pick up the mantle of the Bat for the first time, actually, because Bruce and Dick actually had not talked to each other. They had been estranged for a while, and this actually brought Dick Grayson back into the family in Prodigal. But before that, Bruce actually found a way to fix his paralysis and retake the mantle of the Bat from Azrael, Gene Paul Valley, who actually kicked Bane's rear at the end of Knightfall. And then in Night Quest, he fired Robin and got violent. And Bruce is like, yeah, no, this can't happen. So he started on Night's Quest, the search, to try to find a way to cure his paralysis.
So here's my question. Looking back on it all now, we alluded to this earlier about how the DC Universe app was a little heavy on the Batman content. If you take Batman away from DC, is there really some popular content out there to support, DC itself? It's saying like the last 20 years. Let's not go back to the beginning of time or anything.
Yeah.
But if you look at and I'm talking overall content, games, comics, movies, the whole 9 yards.
I feel like nothing right now, because the reason everyone gravitates towards Batman is, one, he's a great character, he's human, we can relate to that, we can relate to the struggle that he has, but also we've gotten so much Batman material, and that it's spanned across several generations at this point. And this is the first time that we're getting, like a Shazam film. We just very recently got a Wonder Woman film, at least like a huge, big budget live action one. And I don't foresee, unless DC has started already or is going to start now planting those seeds into cementing some of their other characters to be larger powerhouse players. That's why Batman and Superman, mainly Batman, is the big powerhouse player, because they've invested so much in him.
Because also, if you look back to the 90s, and I'm talking the last 20, 25 years worth of content here, you had the Adventures of Superman, you had the Batman animated series, and that was pretty much it. There really was. There was the Justice League Unlimited.
That was 2000s.
But yeah, that was the 2000s. And you really didn't have much else in the way of content. There was no Green Lantern show. There was no animated Hawkman, Hawkgirl show.
There was Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
But again, it's Superman.
Yes.
Okay.
And you had
Yeah.
the Batman movies.
Right? But if you take Batman out, see, I'm talking about like for Marvel in the last 20 years, even the last 10 years, you could take out Iron Man and you'd still have a great franchise.
Okay,
You could take out
hang
Captain
on.
America and still have a great franchise.
I don't think so, because I think Iron Man propelled those characters into them going from B-list characters to A-list characters, because Captain America and Thor were B-list characters. Nobody cared about anyone other than Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four.
The only reason we have the Avengers and the only reason we have these characters is because Marvel licensed out everything else.
This is
The
true.
X-Men went to
Yeah.
Fox. Fantastic Four went to Fox. Spider-Man went to Sony. The Incredible Hulk went to Universal. Those are your big hitters. Those are your power players. They couldn't use those, so that forced them to
Exactly.
go down to Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. They got lucky with Hulk. Universal was kind enough to say, okay, yeah, you can use him, because they had nothing for him in almost 10 years. So it's not like Warner Brothers has always owned the big guys.
Yeah.
Because Warner owns DC. So, and Superman and Batman have always made money, by and large. Mm-hmm. So it's not like Marvel did that out of necessity. The MCU was created out of necessity.
But if you, again, take out the bat, what have you had in the last 20 years to really hang your hat on if you're DC? Other than some pretty good Superman movies here and there? Kind of, sort of.
Flash, Arrow.
Okay, so DC TV has
the DC TV stuff
has a few
really
gems.
Good.
Then you have Wonder Woman.
Yeah, okay, you got one Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
So far.
You also have, to cancel that out, a Suicide Squad movie.
But that was very much Batman-esque, and later on we'll get into my hate for Zack Snyder, but not right now. That's a different issue.
Let's assume right now that DC says that they're going to come out with a Constantine standalone. Mm-hmm. Let's get away from Harley Quinn, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, just like Marvel went to Ant-Man, and that made $500 million somehow. Let's assume there's going to be a Constantine reboot. A new Constantine movie. Do you think that the people are just going to jump for joy?
No.
Certain people will, certain people won't.
The masses, the collected masses.
No, because Constantine's not even a B-list character. Constantine's like a C or D-list character.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
best.
That's like if DC said, let's do The Question.
There you go.
Nobody cares.
Exactly. But at the same time, Marvel took Ant-Man and made it into something great. That's my point. If you take away Batman from the DC universe, there's not much they can hang their hat on. Mm-hmm. Batman is literally holding together the DC franchise.
Yeah.
On the Marvel side, they got variety to spare as long as you're not a woman.
Wow.
Oh, dang.
Shots fired. Hashtag shots fired. Oh, goodness. All right, so that's going to wrap it up here. Goodness, fastest hour on radio. I swear it really is. For Goose, for Clickbait, and for myself, I want to thank all of our sponsors, the Texas Renaissance Festival, Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch, the Heroes and Villains of Cosplay, and the Mailing Spot. Thanks for your listening, and make sure to get your geek on every single day.